So we decided to do telepathy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it was good because I've been having a lot of things kind of pop up with people that I'm close to and people I haven't spoken to
Yeah.
in years.
Really?
Um, yeah.
Just calling you out
Uh,
of the blue, or like you're thinking about them and then you hear from them?
both um just a lot of synchronicities
Mm-hmm.
have been kind of happening, and I've been kind of looking at it differently because, a lot of changes and a lot of things were happening in my personal life that I'll speak about, in the future. But, I was thinking about consciousness and how we're all connected and, just trying to figure out ways to impact and kind of help here on the planet, and like, my whole purpose about my existence here. And every single time I would like have a conversation or send a text, or even you and I, like sometimes we'll talk about something and something similar is happening in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and so the thought is, and I believe this, is that before we come here and wherever we go after, we don't have language. There's no English, there's no Spanish, there's no Chinese. Like, we don't speak. We're a spirit. So we communicate telepathically with each other. We can read each other's thoughts. I think vulnerability is like not something to be like worried about on the other side. Everyone kind of knows everything. It's just like totally like love and consciousness and like openness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, just a couple examples of what's happened lately, and it's happened pretty much, throughout my whole life. But I think when you start to become aware of it,
Yeah.
and you can even kind of like play around with it. So I wanted to contact this person because she's a nurse, and we lived together, like, I don't know, like a couple of years ago. She's a traveling nurse, and she's an older woman, and she kind of was like a grandma to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't talked to her in like probably, I don't know, maybe 2 years. And I kept saying in my head, like, oh, I gotta text her because I want to pick her brain about nursing, and I want to ask her opinion. But I didn't do it right away. I was just thinking about it. And then, I got a moment to myself. I sent a text, and right away she was like, I just was thinking about you the past couple days. And that's so weird that you texted me. And I was like, well, not really. um,
I had that happen with somebody that I hadn't talked to in a long, over 10 years. And I, messaged them on Facebook or something. I was just thinking about you the other day. I'm like, no shit.
because I think before also, like, if you start to become aware of your thoughts and your actions, like, you start to think about what you're going to do first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to text this person, or I'm going to call this person, or I'm going to I got to get in touch with this person. So they're picking up on that before you even go into contacting.
So one of the things they say when you have your whole like when you're in a high vibration is that
Mm.
you'll start attracting or pulling people in. And I remember when I was kind of like first kind of getting to that place and I'm reading about this, I'm like, oh no shit. You start pulling people. And I was like, oh, and then within literally 2 weeks of me reading that, I had 4 or 5 people that I, good friends with. This one guy that I used to, he had the office next to us in Tampa. This guy, Gary, I hadn't spoken to this guy in 15 years. He messaged me, an old friend that I used to hang out with all the time messaged me like, it's like literally like a string of people, like all in a row right after I read that. And I'm like, did that happen? Did I make that happen? Did I read that? And then because I read that, I made it happen. It was weird, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely made it happen. You brought it into your existence. Um, and when we start to think about an outcome or something, we are affecting it. Like, when you command to the universe and say, like, this is going to happen, just with one person, it's most likely going to happen. And then you start to do it with one or more, it has no choice but to happen, because the energy is so powerful.
Mm,
And like you said, you start to pull things into you when you are in that higher vibration.
tapping into source, as they call it. I mean, I don't know, universe. What's up with that 10 million? I've been manifesting that for a while now, and I was like not in my account yet. So I'm just saying, like, let's get there already.
I mean, I think you're gonna
Y'all
get
hear
it.
me? Let's get there with that. Hurry up with that shit.
All right. We're getting 10 million. I already know we're getting a million, but you want 10. So
I've
you're
been working on manifesting the 10 for a while. Like, listen, if you're gonna set a goal,
go
go
big.
go
Yeah.
fucking big. I mean, I'm not trying to be irrational. Like
No, it's not
when I
irrational.
get to
It's
the
fine.
10, like the next one will be 100. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'll step it up. But I feel like 10's a good starting point.
Yeah. And for you, I think that you're a good money magnet. You have
Oh, if I
like
had $10
good.
million, I could flip it into $100 million real fast. It would
Mhm.
not be a problem for me.
All right. We got to help a bunch of single parents. That's on my list.
Oh my God. You know who I'm gonna help? Let me tell you who I'm going to help. If I ever get to like 100 million and I have like time to pick and do what I want, I am
Mm.
gonna help single dads that have to
Hmm.
fight tooth and nail to see their kids. I'm gonna set up a fund, like because you know what, women have, you know, all of those services, and I'm not trying to like grandstand or anything, but I think that is, we could maybe do that another time, but I think that's something that ignores, because there are guys out there that are good guys, and for
Yeah.
whatever reason, maybe they don't have the money to fight or push and they want to. So I'm gonna set up something like that.
Yeah. That's a
Because
good idea.
a lot of dads are taken advantage of. Don't get me wrong, there's a ton of deadbeat dads out there too. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it, but there are people out there that need help, and people don't necessarily look at that because they're male. But that's what I would do if I had $100 million. I would set up a fund to help people like that.
Yeah. No, I'll agree with you. That kids sometimes are used as weapons to get the dads to like, the parent uses the kids as a weapon,
Uh-huh.
and it's wrong. Um, all right. So back to telepathy. I think that also it can become more developed the more that we develop our spirituality,
Uh-huh.
so breaking the ego, getting rid of the ego, really living in the authenticity and feeling into like, you know, love, and you have to go through the dark night of the soul. You really have to go through the spiritual growth. It's a lot of growing pains. It's
Oh yeah.
um, a lot of pain and suffering.
Oh yeah.
I even though it's been a while, like I remember how bad it was. I mean, I wouldn't want to go through it again, dude. Like that shit was hard.
Fuck no. That shit
Mm,
sucks. That shit definitely, definitely sucks. But
yeah.
just to
To be
tell.
on the other side of it though is worth it.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then when all these like synchronicities start coming up, and I had a conversation earlier and I was like talking about something. I was telling a friend about the content we did last night on the podcast, and she was like, huh, I was just thinking about that. And then she started going off in direction about stuff that you and I were talking about, and how we don't use more than 10% of our brains. And I was like, we were just talking about that. um
I think people think, okay, so if you say the word telepathy, I think people think like bending a spoon with your mind, talking to somebody without, but it's not necessarily like that. It could be you see an image of something and think of a person, associate with that image. Like, what am I thinking of? I don't know. Let's just say somebody who's in a car accident. And you're thinking of like a car, and just so and so that you haven't thought of in a while pops in your head. And then they call you the next day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I wrecked my car the other day. Some idiot cut me off." You're like,
all right,
"Shit.
you want to hear a crazy story? Because
Oh
this is
boy, here we go."
exactly.
Yeah, nothing will surprise me with you, but let me have it, please.
All right, it just popped up, so I'm going to bring it up, and it's
Okay.
super personal, but more about vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a boyfriend when I was 19. He was a little bit older,
No shit.
and
How older?
I don't know, like 23, not much older.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, and but we had like a deep connection. We had
Mm,
plans that we were gonna like be together, get married, all this stuff. You need to get out of here.
Okay.
That's not cool at all. Um, he was going through a hard time. Um, he was in an accident. He broke his back in a car accident. He drove fast cars and was kind of crazy.
mm,
Um, we dated for a while. My sister was dating his best friend. We did everything together.
you know,
One night, this was way before cell phones. One night we were at home. I was at home with my sister, and I said I have a really bad feeling that Dominic's gonna die. And she was like, "No, you're just being paranoid. Don't worry about it. Go to bed." I was like, "No, like I want to get in my car and go look for him." I knew, like intuitively, that he was not going to be on the planet anymore.
Hmm.
And I tried to share with her and stuff, and we were close. Like we shared a bedroom most of our lives, but she doesn't have the intuition that I have. She doesn't know what it feels like. Like when you get a feeling, it's so fucking strong that you can't deny it. Like
you
I don't know how
know,
to
without a doubt. You don't know why you know, you just know, and there's zero doubt in your mind.
yeah, and I was young. Like it's not like someone took me aside and was like, "Oh, this is intuition and this is what it feels like." I just knew. It was like so strong. And it's freaky too, because you're like, "Oh, I know someone's gonna die. Am I supposed to save them?" Like I at that time, like I didn't know about, that we're on our own journey and our own path. I hadn't even gone through like any spiritual like awakening. I was just like a young teenager. I saw a lot of death growing up. Um, there was like a lot of suicides and there was a lot of drunk driving where a lot of teenagers were, getting hit by drunk drivers. And so there was always a lot of death going on from a young age with younger people, not
Mm.
older. It's not like, great grandparents were dying and they're at the end of their life. It was like all these like young people. I was in college at the time. I had to get up the next morning and go to class.
Mm.
And like I said, there was no cell phone, so I couldn't really check in with him and call him or text him or anything. And I got up, I went to, I was driving because I was going to community college at the time before I transferred to University of Tampa. I took a few classes and I got home. And as soon as I got home, the phone rang, the house phone, because that's how it was back then. Oh, yeah, it was a house phone.
The kids don't even know what a house phone is, do they?
I have one.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I just have it for an
Fucking
emergency.
hippie.
And I got a phone call and I answered the phone and they said, yeah, he's dead. I don't even remember who called me. I just remember picking up the phone. They said that to me. I think I dropped the phone and I was just like shocked at the fact that I knew, shocked that he was gone. And then I was like instantly like mad that I didn't do anything. Like I went through a lot because I really thought like I was supposed to do something and all this stuff, but ended up working out fine. And I got a reading by a medium after that, and he was like, "Oh, he's on the other side. He's doing good. He's looking out for you, all this stuff. You weren't supposed to help him. You did everything you could. That was just his time here."
Nothing you can do. If it's somebody's time, it's their time. Like what could you, okay, let's look at it this way. You had your intuition, you thought that. What could you have done? Even if there were cell phones, you would have called them. Are you okay? Are you driving? Yeah, I'm fine, babe. I'll see you tomorrow. Da 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 da. And then okay, it happens anyway. It's
Yeah.
not.
No, it was just a lot. It was a lot to process. And then I kind of like shut down after that. I didn't really want anything to do with intuition, honestly. I'll share that. I didn't think it was cool. I wasn't like, oh, I knew this, that. Like I was just like, fuck that. I want nothing to do with that shit. And I went into a totally like kind of autopilot type of like kind of shut down everything.
Mm.
And then I redeveloped everything when I hit the dark night of the soul and I got sick and I couldn't live like that asleep way anymore. I was miserable and depressed and I just didn't feel like I didn't feel alive inside.
How many years was it
And
between that happening and when that happened?
Not many. So that I was about 19 when that happened, and I shut shit down, and then I had to look at everything probably in my mid-20s. I went through my stuff early, like early on.
Mm,
Um, and I think that it was just, now looking back, like, I had a gift, and it was just something I had to learn to get comfortable with. And I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it, to develop it, to know about it, to not be afraid of it. It went back a while before that too. I think we talked about it on another one.
that's a good point you just made, is not having anybody to talk to when you do
Mm-mm.
shit. Because I was lucky and I had a friend, and she, she's been through some stuff, and like, we shared, like, it was cool to have somebody to bounce it off, and like they're not gonna think you're crazy for what you're saying. And they tell you, their crazy shit that happened to them. So it's good to have somebody to talk to about it. Not everybody's fortunate enough to have that. Kind of figuring
Yeah.
it out on your own. You think you're nuts.
After that, my sister never questioned my intuition again, and she said, like, "Oh, you're paranoid, this, that," and I,
Mhm.
yeah. Now, now it's like, oh, you got a bad feeling? Okay.
Okay, we're not going to do that then. Okay.
Yeah. But I also wouldn't tell someone like, "Oh, your life's gonna be coming to an end. I can
Oh,
feel it
no, God, no.
inside."
No, no, no.
No,
No,
because
no.
that's just not my business.
Mm-mm.
And also, it's not scary anymore to me. Before, it was like, "Oh my God, someone's gonna die," is super scary, and this and that. And yeah, of course it hurt. I was in love with him, and it was painful, and I went through it. But we all see each other again, and I knew I would see him again too.
Mm. Seeing somebody again could be a blessing and a curse also. Because I think I told you about it one time. I was like, was at a point in my life going like, oh my God, am I gonna go to like heaven or wherever we go to the other side, and I have to deal with this person again?
Uh,
There's that too.
well, maybe they'll be different on the other side. Maybe they'll be more chill.
Maybe they won't go to the same side I go. My elevator might go up and theirs might go down.
Yeah, you never know. But anyway, so tying it into the telepathy, I was, there was a relationship between us, and I loved him, and I know that I was in his energy. So like when even if you're not a twin flame or whatever, but when you're like with someone all the time, or
Hmm.
you spend time with someone, you hang out, you're on the phone, whatever. I mean, even you and I, like we share energy because we're doing work together.
Yeah.
So if anything's going on, or you start to like kind of like link up. And women know better than anyone, when you hang out with each other when you're younger, and stuff like that, your cycles link up too. Like the cells talk to each
Is
other.
that true? I've heard girls said that to me like over the years. I don't know. I don't,
Yes, it's
I've
true.
heard girls say that if you have like a best friend, like your cycles sync up. And I was like, I just never really believed it, but I have to take your word for it, I guess.
No, it's true. And I believe that our cells talk to each other. I think that our spirits kind of talk to each other without us even knowing it. Like,
Mm.
oh, we're supposed to do this work together. And there's other stuff going on, I think, that we're not like aware of, you know? Um,
I think, what do they call it? Connecting, I've heard it called connected to source energy. I think
mm,
that's like group consciousness, the same type of thing. And I think that also goes back to the telepathy, because I think if you tap into that,
yeah.
if if you get your vibrations that high and you can tap into that source energy, or whatever you want to call it, universal energy, spirit, whatever the hell you want to call it, if you tap into that, then you can feel things. I mean, I know you do your card readings and all that stuff. I mean, it's like what do you call it, collective readings. I mean, it's just certain groups of people you're doing readings for. But if you can tap into that, yeah, you can pick up on stuff. Even like,
I don't need to do my cards, to do a reading. I can just do a reading on someone and their
oh,
energy.
I
I just
can.
use the cards.
Oh, the card. No, your card readings are creepily accurate, and I want you to do one. You know what I want you to do? Here's what we're gonna do. I have a friend. I have a friend of mine. She's very spiritually. I'd like to get, without you talking to her. My friend that I told, I think I text your number. I want to get her to come on. She'll come on, And I want you to do a quickie reading. I'm not going to tell you another damn thing about her, but I know a lot about her. So it'll be interesting. And she'll come on and do it for fun. You do a quickie
Yeah.
15-minute one. But I know her, and I'm just very curious to see what comes out and what you say and how many nails you hit on the head for this person, because she shared a lot with me. So we'll have to do that sometime. I'll have to reach out to her this week, see if she'll
Yeah.
definitely help us out.
That
But yeah,
sounds,
I'm very curious to see when you do your flips and you do your thing, what comes out. But I don't know, my ADD just fucking blocked me on another thought. When you're connected to source, we're talking about
so source consciousness, it's like the higher level of what we all can connect to, and pieces of us that are all connected to each other.
mhm.
What else were you
I
thinking?
had a thought. I don't know. My ADD, like I get a thread. It's a great thing, and then I was saying that, and I lost it. It'll come back in a minute. Maybe it won't. But yeah, no. With the telepathy thing, what the hell was I going to say about? I don't know.
Well, I think that we can affect outcomes. We can heal energy without even speaking to someone, like within ourselves, like clearing stuff. And a lot of people think like, well, I don't want to forgive this person because they did blah 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 to me. It's not about that. It's about clearing the energy inside of us so we can be healed, and we don't have to be stuck on, past pains and hurts. And
Takes way more energy to hate than to forgive, or it takes more energy to hold on to that grudge. I was talking about this with my cousin Jen. So my aunt passed, and so my aunt had two kids, a boy and a girl, and her son Jay, they hadn't spoken in years. And I'd asked, I was this is very close with this aunt, and I asked her, how Jay was, because I knew him when I was younger and stuff. He's my cool older kid. He's probably 5 or 7 years older than me. She's like my cool older cousin, and they hadn't spoken in years, and she didn't agree with something with his kids or whatever, but they hadn't spoken in years and years and years. And she's on her deathbed, and her daughter's like, "Do you want me to call him?" And she's like, "No." And then me and my brother both, when we spoke to her, like, "Hey, did you call your brother? I know they had things." She's like, "Look, I asked her like 5 times, and I'm
so
just."
is her son.
Yes, and she's like, "I was just respecting." She's like, "I asked my mom like 3 or 4 times because she was lucid, she was fine, and then she was fighting cancer, she was fine, and everything, and could talk and colleague had everything, and then just the last week she just her organs were shutting down from the meds, but she said no, and she's like, I'm gonna respect her wishes. And I was like, shh. I said to my cousin, I was like, bro, Capobiancos can hold a grudge like no fucking other. And she starts dying laughing. She's like, dude, it's in our DNA. It really,
Yeah.
and look at, not me. I'm not there. She's not there. Like my dad holds a grudge. My brother will, no other. Other, like a couple of my aunts, like
A
no,
grudge, and also they
dude,
say like
grudge, like not talk to
revenge.
family for 20 years over some dumb nonsense.
Yeah.
Not a Christmas card, not give a zero rat's ass over. And it wouldn't even be like an argument between the two people. It'd be like something happened and they just like, and then you hear from cousins and other people, and there's like this guy, and they just won't pick up the phone, won't do nothing. It's like, I don't know. It's definitely like ingrained in my family's DNA.
Yeah, they say that revenge runs through the blood, the Italian people.
Not even about revenge. It's just like holding a grudge over
It's the
something
same thing though,
you
because
maybe
it
shouldn't
only comes,
necessarily have a grudge with.
it's the same thing though, because it's only two emotions, love and fear. So if it's not coming from love, fear, hate, revenge, it's all the same fucking thing anyway.
Well, I'll give you an
It
example.
just,
I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. My father has a brother. I met him once for 5 minutes. The story goes, his brother didn't come to their father's funeral for whatever the reason, and they haven't spoken 50 years over that. There's no argument between them about it. There was no like, why didn't you come? That happened, and they did not speak. My brother's my best friend. Now, me and my brother were talking about the other night about this when my aunt passed. We were talking about like how our family holds grudges over dumb shit. And I'm like, Brian, I could not imagine what could happen between us where you and I wouldn't speak and I wouldn't be a part of your life or you wouldn't be part of my kid's life, or I wouldn't be part of your kid's life. Like, I don't know what the hell could happen between us, and he was saying the same thing. And it's just like, he
Yeah,
was
but
like, well,
you're living a different, like, you're living a different, like, dimension on Earth. Like, you're not living
well, he said
in
it's like,
that lower
he said it was
dimension.
like a different time then and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like,
No, no,
no,
it's still,
no,
it's still
no,
going on. It's still going on.
no.
I haven't talked to my mother in I don't know how many years, and she had a near-death experience during COVID, and she still doesn't want to see her grandkids and stuff. People that they die still, like, unawoke. Spirituality is a choice, and if you don't go down that road, sometimes you live like a very painful, like, non-existent life. Like, you're just
That's
not
what I'm saying.
existing.
It takes more energy to hold on to that grudge. And then whatever the grudge is, or whatever the grievance is, and then you think about that person and you relive those emotions and that feeling and that anger, and that's what perpetuates it. And it's like, I don't know, for me
I
personally,
stopped.
yeah, I don't like feeling angry. I don't like feeling,
Not only that, but I feel like it's generational. And I was like, I am not acting, because my mother did it with her mother, and I watched her and she didn't care, and all these weird things that my sister does it. And I'm like, I'm not living like that. Like, I totally was like, I'm acting how I want to act. I don't care what my generational shit is.
that could be what you just said right there. Could be when maybe they were growing up. I didn't know my grandfather, he passed before my parents were even married, but my grandmother like lives with us when she passed. So I don't know what it was like in their household growing up. Maybe they saw that from their parents, and that is what, what do you say, generational curses or whatever the hell they call it. We're trying to break the generational cycles, I guess is what it goes. And
Mm.
that's why I raise my kids, try and do it different with them. Hug them, I kiss them.
Well,
Time I make it weird. They hug and kiss their friends. You know what I mean? Like, well, hug, first kiss, but they hug their friends, and you know what I mean? Like, I just, kind of make it like,
I
but
think the point is that one day we have to look at how we lived here. Like, when we get either on the other side, or people that are in hospice and stuff that, have like the biggest regrets,
yep,
it's all about time, or not saying something to a family member or a loved one, or, so it's like, if we can make an impact and touch, people in a positive way. I mean, are you really at the end of your life, when you're on the other side, gonna go, "Ooh, I held the longest grudge. I'm super proud. That was the
no,
best
well, I
grudge
think,
ever."
what you just said, like the example I just used with my aunt, I don't know. She gave me cliff notes. I don't know exactly, but if it was like that deep of an issue, where she knew the last time I saw her a few weeks ago, I told you she knew she didn't have any time left, and I'm glad I had a last memory with her and hung out with her and, made her laugh. But if it's like that deep, and then, maybe with her, I don't know, maybe, he did some stuff to her where she didn't want to, see him at that point. But when it goes the other way, where maybe people know that they were being the difficult one, like you said, they're in hospice and they're in their deathbed, and now you got all these regrets, and you don't have time left. Well, so what if you want to reach out to them? You had 20, 30, 40 years to reach out to them, and you never did. And now, because you don't have any time left, you expect them to just be like, oh, pick up the phone when you call or whatever. I don't know. It's a little off topic, but yeah, I don't know. But I think, man, you could put it to the topic, the telepathy, that source energy was like, you don't have time left and you're trying to make it right. And it's like, well, why didn't you just do it a long time ago? Or at least try. If you try, another person doesn't
Well,
want to reciprocate the
because
energy, it's not on you.
people do it with, I see it with fitness and nutrition too, because, I've been in that work a little bit now, and more than a little bit, kind of probably like 18, 20 years. But I'll talk to people and they're like, "Oh, I want to work with you. I want to get into shape. I got this going on, this health thing." A guy that I went to high school with just messaged me and was like, and I don't care. I'm gonna put him on blast right now. He was like, "I just had a major heart attack like 8 months ago. I got to change my lifestyle, this and that. Please, I want you to help me. I want you to work with me." So I messaged him back and I said, "All right, well, let's set up a time. We're going to get you on a totally different way of living." You know what his answer was?
Well,
"Oh, I got to think about it. I got to talk to my wife. I got to do this and that." And I said, "Listen," I said, "that's your ego making excuses because you're doing something different. And
yep.
it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. I said, time is a luxury that none of us really, have. We don't know how long we're going to be on the planet. And if you can like make a decision to take care of your body
Hmm.
and you get a second chance, like you almost just died and you're still making excuses, I was like, all right, whatever. Like, I mean, there's some things I can like hold people's hands on, but you just had a major heart attack at 40 something. That's young.
Hmm.
And you're that unhealthy. I don't care. I mean, maybe he'll watch this podcast, but those excuses, they need to go for anyone, like I have 8 million things going on. My ass always goes to the fucking gym. We were supposed to do a podcast earlier. What did I say to you? I got to go to the gym.
And I
That
fell
was,
asleep. I was supposed to
yeah,
go too, and I fell asleep. I did go on my little hike.
I
So
don't care.
we're
It's
way
just
off.
about, that's not the point. The point is, it's just like my discipline. My mind knows it's time to go to the gym, Jess. You got to go to the gym. Who cares what you got going on?
Yep. Therapy.
You got to find a place to live. You got to do this. You got to do that. I don't care. I got to the gym.
All right, we'll wrap up telepathy because we got way off topic at the end here. We can go on to something else next. We got
All right.
closing thoughts on the telepathy thing.
All right. My closing thoughts on the telepathy is that we're all super connected. And if you can believe that and tap into it, we can really kind of affect our relationships in a positive, kind of cool, close, like you said, creepy kind of way, because you're like, get out of my head. So I like it, and I'm going to be doing some more work with it.
All right. Well, my closing thoughts on telepathy are, and we'll just leave it there.
Love that.